Thundarr, I'm E-Lightning, and this is Sports Storm.
Today we will be doing our final NBA mock draft. It's only hours away, so let's get right into it with the first overall selection. It's kind of already known who it's going to be, who the Philadelphia 76ers going to select.
I think it should be Darko Milicic. I'm kidding. It's Ben Simmons. It's obvious. They basically all but said that they're going to draft him. He's the best player in this draft. Hopefully he'll make it to the 76ers. Also, they're trying to trade some of their big men to clear it up for his arrival.
Yep, it's obvious it's Ben Simmons, no doubt about it. On to number 2, who do you think the Los Angeles Lakers are going to select?
I think they're going to select Brandon Ingram. Now, Brandon Ingram, we've talked about this. It's one of the two of them. It's easy. Brandon Ingram is a very good scorer, and he should help the Lakers.
Yeah, obviously Brandon Ingram is going to the Lakers. We've had this in many previous videos. Whoever the Sixers don't take it of Brandon Ingram and Simmons, the Lakers are going to take. So now really the wild card in this draft. Who do you have at number 3, the Boston Celtics selecting?
So, well, I may not agree. Well, I'm going to have them select Buddy Hield. Now, there's been that they're going to select Chris Dunn. I do not feel like that is right. They do not need another point guard. Now, I know they're trying to use it as trade, but to me, if they couldn't get anything with the number 3 pick, why would they get something for Chris Dunn?
Yeah.
So, I feel like they should get Buddy Hield. He could be the superstar, the shooter for them that they absolutely need.
I think right here, I think the biggest concern, or the biggest need for the Boston right now is to trade this number 3 pick. And if they can't, I think their best option right here is small forward Jaylen Brown out of California. Now, in most videos, I've been pretty low on him, but I think Boston has to take the best player available. Now, that may be Chris Dunn, as Danny Ainge has tended to take the best player available in recent drafts, but I think Jaylen Brown would fit their scheme, has the most upside out of any prospect left on the board. Who do you have at number 4, the Phoenix Suns selecting?
I have the Phoenix Suns selecting Dragan Bender. Now, I know a lot of people may not agree with this, but however, Dragan Bender, if you're the Phoenix Suns, you need to take a risk here. I know you might move Bledsoe, but your core is right now kind of just entering their primes. If you hit on Dragan Bender, you get a player like Kristaps who could immediately come in there, start helping you, and develop quickly. If you don't, I feel like there's a lot of risk involved, but if you're the Phoenix Suns, you have a lot of risk with your current core.
Yeah, I don't think Phoenix is going to take Dragan Bender just because I don't think they want to risk their franchise on using this top 5 pick on a really iffy prospect in Dragan Bender. He may turn out, but I think Marquise Chris is much more suitable for this team, considering they have another lottery pick at number 13, which there are a lot of power forwards like Deontay Davis or Skal Labissiere they can pick there. So I'm taking Marquise Chris, can play both forward roles, and has a high upside with his major athleticism. Who do you have at number 5, the Minnesota Timberwolves selecting?
The Minnesota Timberwolves selecting combo guard Jamal Murray. Now, there's nothing Minnesota would like more than select Jamal Murray, in my opinion. He could play your point guard. He could easily fit into that lineup as a really good shooter, scorer. He would almost complete the lineup, basically. And if you're not happy with Ricky Rubio, as I said earlier, you could always move him back to point. I think he fits what they need perfectly.
I have number 5, Minnesota taking Providence point guard Chris Dunn. Now, I think Minnesota's not going to let Chris Dunn get past them, considering he perfectly fits into Tom Thibodeau's scheme of kind of a defense-first style of play. And he can also provide for the offense, really initiate the offense, and really help this team grow. Who do you have at number 6, the New Orleans Pelicans selecting?
I had them selecting Chris Dunn. Now, he falls right into their lap. They need a true point guard. Drew Holiday isn't a true point guard and still might get traded. Tyreke Evans is not a true point guard. They get Chris Dunn, the true point guard here. He could help really make that offense run smoothly, of course, with Anthony Davis, one of the best players in the league.
Yeah, number 6, I have New Orleans taking another point guard-ish player in Jamal Murray. I think he's a dual guard player right now, but I think as he transitions into the NBA, he will become more of in that point guard role, and I think he will succeed very much with the New Orleans Pelicans and big man Anthony Davis. Who do you have at number 7, the Denver Nuggets selecting?
I have the Denver Nuggets selecting Jaylen Brown. Now, it'd be really awesome if Jaylen Brown fell to them here, and of course he does in my mock draft. He has the potential to be, other than Timothy Luwawu, has the highest potential on the wing. And if he capitalizes on that, he could slot right in there with the young core of Emmanuel Mudiay and Gary Harris, Nikola Jokic, and the
Joffrey Lauver.
Yeah. And I think that you need to do that because then you could have a really good young nucleus.
Yeah, at number 7, I have Denver taking Dragan Bender. Now, I have a really bold prediction that he's going to fall outside of the top 5. As athleticism tends to rise, the non-athletic players tend to fall, and Dragan Bender obviously isn't that athletic compared to some of the other players in this draft class. So I think he will fall, and Denver would be happy to pick him up, and they have the time to actually develop Dragan Bender. Who do you have at number 8, the Sacramento Kings selecting?
I have the Sacramento Kings letting Marquise Chris, obviously one of the highest potential players. If he develops properly, he could be his own thing, really, a hyper-athletic 4, or could follow in the footsteps of a Rudy Gay or a better Derek Williams. However, I think the Kings have to take him here. He could play any range of positions for them that they need help with. Maybe they could go a tall ball lineup, moving Rudy Gay back to the 2. Anyway, the Kings need help, and they need an explosive player, and Marquise Chris could perfectly fit that.
Number 8, I think the Kings are not in the best spot. They're still in a pretty good spot because they're going to get one of the top 8 players in this draft. And in my mock draft, I have Buddy Hield falling to them in their position of need at shooting guard. So I think this is perfectly fit for Sacramento because they've had Ben McLemore and Marco Bellinelli. Neither of them have really fit, and Buddy Hield would finally give them a solid shooting guard to pair up with DeMarcus Cousins. Who do you have at number 9? The Toronto Raptors selecting?
I have the Toronto Raptors selecting Henry Ellenson. He fits right into that power forward position where they need a little bit of help. I mean, obviously, he could fit right next to the Jonas Valanciunas, who kind of came into his own in the playoffs here. They also have that all-star backcourt, and he'd be a good piece to add without having to spend too much money, as most of your cap space will be tied up in either Biyombo or DeRozan.
Number 9, I have Toronto selecting Jakob Poeltl out of Utah. Now, I think Biyombo is going to leave in free agency, as I think they're going to try to re-sign DeMar DeRozan. I think Jakob Poeltl will perfectly fit into Toronto. I definitely think suiting as a backup center. Great value pick here at number 9. Who do you have at number 10? The Milwaukee Bucks selecting.
I have the Milwaukee Bucks letting Domantas Sabonis. Greg Monroe has not worked out here. He is most likely to be traded. They need a really good big man to play alongside Giannis Antetokounmpo and Chris Middleton. And I think that could be Domantas Sabonis, an absolute offensive beast, gives you a little bit of defense. I mean, he's a complete package. He's one of the more polished players in this draft.
Number 10, I have Milwaukee selecting a different big man in Michigan State big man Deontay Davis. That has tons of potential, but not the most NBA-ready player right now. But I think Milwaukee's another team that has the time to develop a young, raw talent like Deontay Davis as a premium shot blocker. So I think this will be a great pick in the next 5 years. Who do you have at number 11, Orlando selecting?
I have the Orlando Magic selecting Jakob Poeltl. They need a defensive big. Their bigs were not. I mean, Aaron Gordon is a rising star in this league. Very good for Nikola Vucevic has a good offensive game. However, their low post defense needs to improve, as both Aaron Gordon and Nikola Vucevic are not shot blockers. Jakob Poeltl can. I mean, while he may be limited offensively and didn't really play great against good competition in college, I still feel like he can be a very good, like an Andrew Bogut for you, and that's exactly what they could use.
Number 11, I think Orlando has to go with the best player available strategy, and I think that here is Skal Labissiere. He definitely has one of the most upsides of any player in this draft. Some people compared him to a LaMarcus Aldridge earlier in the year, but that obviously is probably not going to happen. But I think you do have another team with lots of young talent has the time to develop a player like Skal Labissiere. I think they need to go best player available, and Labissiere would fit. Who do you have at number 12, the Atlanta Hawks selecting?
I have the Atlanta Hawks selecting Timothy Luwawu. Now Timothy Luwawu has some of the highest potential in the draft. If he works out, he could be a really dominant wing scorer and even defender. And I think the Hawks have never, their team dropped much worse after the loss of DeMarre Carroll. They get another explosive 3-and-D wing. I think they could easily rise back into the East contenders. But for now, if he develops, and I think Atlanta, with the young core of Dennis Schroeder and not really young but good Paul Millsap, has like 2 years to get him to where he needs to be for them to be back up at the top of the East.
Yeah, number 12, Atlanta selecting Domantas Sabonis, big man out of Gonzaga. Now, they might lose Al Horford in free agency, but even if they don't have a lot of big men on their team. I think Domantas Sabonis would fit greatly as either a new starter or a great backup to Al Horford. Who do you have at number 13, the Phoenix Suns selecting?
I have the Phoenix Suns selecting Denzel Valentine. Now, having getting Dragan Bender early in the draft, they don't need another high potential big man here, and they need a sure thing. I think Denzel Valentine can come in there, give you a little bit of everything, and even at his very least, he could give you some 3-point shooting, and that would be good. And however, he can lead the second unit, kind of fill in PJ Tucker's role almost, and be a very good sixth man for a pretty good team.
Number 13, I have Phoenix selecting French wingman Timothy Luau. As you said, one of the most complete wings in this draft. Tons of potential. About 6'7", with a long wingspan, can shoot the three, has great athleticism. Really everything you want in a wing, but he's really unproven at this point. But I do think if Phoenix does need to take a swing on Timothy Luau, and if they hit on that swing, I definitely think he could be one of the great players in the NBA. At number 14, who do you have Chicago selecting?
I have Chicago selecting Wade Baldwin. Now, with the trade of Derrick Rose, this opens it right up for them to need a point guard. I mean, Jerry Grant is... But you really need to get Wade Baldwin. He can shoot the three. I think they also trade Jimmy Butler. He will really help your rebuild. Yeah, I mean, he has some lofty comparisons, even being compared to Steph Curry. Now, obviously, that's probably not going to happen, but anytime your game can be compared to like, arguably the best point guard in the league, then that's pretty damn good.
Yeah. At number 14, I have Chicago also selecting Wade Baldwin. Tons of athleticism, length, and can shoot the three. And after trading Derrick Rose, they have an opening at the point guard spot. I think Wade Baldwin would fit that perfectly. Who do you have at number 15, the Denver Nuggets selecting?
I have the Denver Nuggets selecting Deontay Davis. I feel like Kenneth Faried will be traded, and that opens it up. Now, Denver, having already gotten Jaylen Brown early in the draft, if you get Deontay Davis here, you have a young core that could be very dominant later on. And I think they are one of the teams that has the time to rebuild, bulk up, and really get Deontay Davis into the Hassan Whiteside-like player he can be.
Yeah, at number 15, I have Denver picking probably the best draft and stash player in this draft class, in Furkan Korkmaz. He's only 18 years old and one of the most athletic players, if not the most athletic player in this draft. And I think he will stay probably 1 year overseas. And I don't think Denver's going to want to bring in 3 rookies this season. So I think draft and stash is the way to go here at number 15. Who do you have at number 16, the Boston Celtics selecting?
I have the Boston Celtics selecting Thon Maker. Now, they need to take a chance. I know there's been some concerns with his age, but I feel like Boston, they need a center. And they can get Thon Maker. I mean, he's a high-risk, high-reward player, but if you do get it, he could be a very young, dominant, highly potent big man, and that's exactly what Boston needs.
At number 16, I have Boston selecting Henry Ellenson. Now, he's slipped a little bit in my draft, but I think he has also slipped a bit in most mock drafts, considering he lacks athleticism. But I do think he can shape into one of the better stretch fours in this league if he fits in the right system, and I think Boston is that right system. Who do you have at number 17, the Memphis Grizzlies selecting?
I have the Memphis Grizzlies selecting DeJounte Murray. Now, DeJounte Murray could be a saving grace. I mean, Memphis has lacked a very good explosive scorer for a long time now. And I think it's finally starting to hurt them. You get DeJounte Murray here, you develop him, he could easily be your first option scorer to go along with Marc Gasol, of course. And obviously, if you're Memphis, that you need that.
Yeah, number 17, I have Memphis selecting Malachi Richardson. Now, one of their during their team workout with Malachi Richardson, they told him just to leave because if he's going to be there, they're going to pick him. So I do think Malachi Richardson would be a great fit, wing scorer. Memphis doesn't have that, and Malachi Richardson would fit that. Who do you have at number 18, the Detroit Pistons selecting?
I have the Detroit Pistons selecting Demetrius Jackson. Now, obviously, you could go a big man here, but I really like Demetrius Jackson at this point. He's probably the third best point guard in this draft. He could be a good backup, and obviously, Steve Blake is not getting it done. Demetrius Jackson gives you a little bit of everything and could easily lead that kind of weak Pistons second unit.
I have the Pistons selecting Michigan State wingman Denzel Valentine. Can do a bit of everything for you, provide that outside shooting, rebounding, and can pass the ball well. So I think he'd be a perfect fit in the Motor City. Who do you have at number 19, the Denver Nuggets selecting?
The Denver Nuggets selecting Malik Beasley. Now, he's fallen a little bit in my draft. However, if you have a chance to really just put a stamp on it, you get an explosive wing scorer in this draft. I mean, you could play him at the 2, or you could even play him off the bench because you also have Jaylen Brown in my draft. he obviously Malik Beasley's one of the more explosive players in this draft.
Yeah, number 19, I also have Denver selecting Malik Beasley. I almost see him as like a Wesley Matthews type player. I do think he'd fit in greatly with Denver. A nice young core, another guard addition to Emmanuel Mudiay. Can play off the bench or start. Who do you have at number 20, the Brooklyn Nets selecting?
The Brooklyn Nets selecting Tyler Ulis. Now, they need a point guard, and Tyler Ulis has fallen out of a lot of draft. I don't think his height, yeah, but he can play. He was really good in college, and I think he can translate to the pros, especially since Brooklyn has Brook Lopez down there. Also, I think he can really thrive in that offense.
At number 20, I have the Brooklyn Nets selecting DeAndre Bembry. Now, he has tons of upside. Some people even compared him to a Jimmy Butler, getting about 17 points and 7 rebounds as a guard at St. Joseph's. I do think this would be great for the Nets to build around a high upside player, and really, there's nothing else you can do for Brooklyn at this point. Who do you have at number 21, the Atlanta Hawks selecting?
So I have the Atlanta Hawks here selecting Malachi Richardson. Now, Malachi Richardson is, of course, a very good player, as you said earlier, and he could really fit into that Atlanta role. He could be alongside Timothy Luwawu as their two really good wings, and that would be perfect for them.
Yeah, number 21, I have the Atlanta Hawks selecting dual guard DeJounte Murray out of Washington. Now, some people say he could go as high as number 10 to the Bucks, but I don't think he's going to go that high, considering he really hasn't proven himself all that much. He did average 16 points and 6 assists in college, but I do think there are better point guards in this draft, that he would fit perfectly in Atlanta as they just traded Jeff Teague and they need a new backup point guard. Who do you have at number 22, the Charlotte Hornets selecting?
I have the Charlotte Hornets selecting Cheikh Diallo. Now, I know this is a popular pick, but Cody Zeller has not been getting it done for them. Cheikh Diallo is one of those high-potential bigs we talk about. Played at Kansas. I think if he works out, he could easily be right next to Al Jefferson and alongside Kemba as one of their better players.
Number 22, I have the Charlotte Hornets selecting dual forward Juan Hernan Gomez out of Spain. Now, a very versatile player. Not a lot, or he hasn't really proven himself a ton, but he has tons of potential. Can shoot the ball, can drive, play defense. Hopefully, he fits in with Charlotte if they do pick him. Who do you have at number 23, the Boston Celtics selecting?
I have the Boston Celtics selecting Ante Zubac because he has a very high upside big men in this draft, and the Boston, of course, needs a center. They could get a draft and stash player because I don't think they want that many rookies.
Number 23, I have him also taking. I think you meant Ivica Zubac. It's Ante Zizic. You can get him mixed up, but Ivica Zubac. They're going to need a draft and stash player. Another team that has multiple first-round picks, and they're not going to be able to bring in so many rookies. Who do you have at number 24, the Philadelphia 76ers selecting?
I have the Philadelphia 76ers here at 24 selecting Taurean Prince. Now, Taurean Prince, very good winger here. He could be. I think Robert Covington is out, and they could place him here. Taurean Prince, of course, is a very high upside good player in this draft.
Number 24 of the Philadelphia 76ers selecting Notre Dame point guard Demetrius Jackson. Now, he's fallen a bit in my draft due to some of the risers like Juan Hernan Gomez and Malachi Richardson, but I do think this would be an absolute steal for Philadelphia if they can get not elite score, but a good score at point guard, as they don't really have a set one at this point. Who do you have at number 25, the Los Angeles Clippers selecting?
I have the Los Angeles Clippers here selecting Juan Hernan Gomez. Juan Hernan Gomez, as you talked about earlier, can do a lot of stuff for you, and I think he fits into the Clippers as a very versatile big to be a backup because Cole Aldridge is not getting it done.
Yeah, at number 25, I have the Clippers in multiple mock drafts. I've had them selecting Taurean Prince out of Baylor. They've never really had a great small forward, and now I think they can get a DeMarre Carroll-type player in Prince who will start from the get-go. Who do you have at number 26, the Philadelphia 76ers selecting?
I have the Philadelphia 76ers here at 26 selecting Furkan Korkmaz. Now, Furkan Korkmaz is could be as you said, one of the highest potential. He could be a great wing scorer for the 76ers for years to come.
Number 26, I have the Philadelphia 76ers selecting elite defensive wing Malcolm Brogdon out of Virginia. Now, I think he's definitely one of the better defenders in this draft, but he's kind of fallen due to his age. But I do think this would be a great fit for Philadelphia, as he can also shoot the three and provide some perimeter defense. Who do you have at number 27, the Toronto Raptors selecting?
At number 27, I have the Toronto Raptors selecting Karis LeVert. Now, I think he could be a very good backup option just in case you lose DeMar DeRozan.
Yeah, number 27, I have Toronto selecting Ben Bentel. I have him taking Jakob Poeltl earlier in the draft, fill that backup center role. But I do think they're going to need a power forward, so I have him get Ben Bentel, can score, rebound, kind of undersized, but he would fit the system. Who do you have at number 28, the Phoenix Suns selecting?
I have the Phoenix Suns at number 28 selecting Skal Labissiere. Now, he's fallen a ton, and that would be really great for Phoenix to get Skal Labissiere this late. High potential big man. And obviously, if Dragon, it'd be a high likelihood to miss twice with both Skull and Dragon.
Number 28, I have Phoenix selecting forward Cheick Diallo out of Kansas. Now, really didn't prove himself at all at Kansas, but during the combine and workouts, he's really risen up draft boards. I think Phoenix has the time to risk on Cheick Diallo here in the late first round. Who do you have at number 29, the San Antonio Spurs selecting?
So I have DeAndre Bembry falling a ways down to here, and this would be great for San Antonio. I mean, they could get another player to help be on that second unit. Could be with Kyle Anderson as the two wings on that. Very great rebounder, as you said earlier.
Number 29, I have San Antonio selecting Tyler Ulis. I do think he's going to fall due to his hip injury and that he's only 145 pounds. But I do think the Spurs should take him here at 29, considering Patty Mills isn't really going to provide a great starter in the future, and Tony Parker isn't getting any younger. Who do you have at number 30, the Golden State Warriors selecting?
I have them selecting A.J. Hammond's high potential big man. As we saw in the finals, Andrew Bogut was one of the many factors that helped them lose these finals. And I feel if you get A.J., well, look at the facts.
I mean, anyway. All right, at number 30. Sorry. At number 30, I have the Golden State Warriors also taking another high potential big man in Zhao Qi out of China, 7'1". Not great athleticism, but great post scorer, great defense. Definitely, I think the Golden State Warriors could take a major risk reward player here in Zhao Qi. That is it for us today at Sports Storm. Like,
comment,
subscribe, peace.